So what's up, everybody? I hope life is treating you good. I'm over here sort of under the edge of my Mustang, and I want to talk to you guys today about the things that you need to do before you cut your car. It's going to be really important that we go through this today, because if you cut your car without doing some of these structural things to your car, then what you're going to find is you're going to really be in trouble, because it can get wonky on you in a real quick way. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. We're going to work on it and find some things that are going to help us make our Mustang coupe into a fastback. It's going to be today. Hey guys, I'm underneath my Mustang right now, and what I want to show you is some structural things that are going to really make a difference when you get ready to do your car. If you look at what I'm showing you right now, first of all, I'm showing you what's called an X bracing. This is kind of a pretty common sort of subframe connector. Now here's the issue. Because a Mustang is actually a unibody car, that means that it doesn't have a full structural frame. It has subframes in it. Like, in fact, what's above my head, let me turn this around where you can see it, right here. This is actually the ending of what we call the floor support system, which is just the tips of the frame. Okay? Now that's been connected, and if you look right here, this is a subframe connector that has been welded in. I'm not going to necessarily in this video show you how to do that, because mine's already been done. In fact, mine was done before I bought the car, but I am going to encourage you to put in subframe connectors prior to your building your car. What you want to do is you want to put these subframe connectors in. Now, whether you use the X bracing or not, I think that's kind of up to you. But what I will tell you is this, is if you look at this X bracing, it's super beefy. It makes the car really rigid. I didn't realize how rigid the car is, but at one point I had the car braced up and on jack stands, and one jack stand wasn't even touching on one corner. That's how rigid the car becomes with this X bracing underneath it and these subframe connectors. These subframe connectors are welded in, and they weld to your floor supports, and then the X bracing bolts into that. But you weld it in on either end, and it connects both the rear subframe to the front subframe, and when that takes place, your car becomes incredibly rigid. So from a little bit different perspective, this is the actual torque box in the front of the car, so I can show you. There's the front wheel. There's the torque box that's right here. This is where your floor support comes out of the torque box. This is factory, okay? Now, at the end of this would, from the factory end, this would just be cut off. But this has been welded on, and my bolts aren't actually attached to the X-brace yet. But this is welded on, and this piece that you're seeing right here is the subframe connector, and it's also welded in at the other end. Let me show you that. Now, I'm at the back of the car. This is the rear end. See the rear end here? And this is the rear subframe connector. This is where I started at the front, and I showed you as I walked you up through here. Here it is, and this is welded in as well. Let me show you from the outside of the car. This is the rear subframe. Now, what you would have back here, this is the rear torque box. I have extended my torque box. Still got a little bit work left to do, because I actually moved my springs in board, and I built tubular frame to go off the back. But don't worry about that right now. I just want to show you this. This is where the rear torque box is in the car. The subframe connector welds to that, and then your X-frame brace bolts to that bracket. But this subframe, if you'll look, this is where this is where your subframe actually, right here's where your subframe would have ended, and this is your torque box. This is what relays all the torque and all of the energy of the car's motor and the torque from the motor. It relays it into the body of the car, because remember, there's no frame in a Mustang. That's a unibody car, and so for that torque to be relayed elsewhere, it has to have a way to get out to the outer edges of the car. That's what these torque boxes do. There's one in the front, and there's one right here in the rear. But this is your subframe connector rather, and it's welded in. The welds don't look so pretty. It was a messy, the metal underneath here is kind of messy. It's kind of hard to get a really pretty weld, and this was done before I got it, but I don't think I would have done a better job, just to be honest with you. But here is the subframe connector, and it goes all the way up front to your floor supports, and it attaches to the floor supports. Underneath that, beyond that, is the X bracing. Now, All of this comes together to give this car the amount of structural integrity that it would have if the car had a full frame. So this is just the same as if the car had a full frame. Okay, so we've got some you see the subframe connectors, the importance of those. What's really important is your car can flex really easy when you start cutting the body off of it. Again, the structure of the car is in the whole of the body. That's how a Mustang's built. That's what a unibody means. It means that it doesn't have a full frame. It has a portion of a frame up front. It has torque boxes that extend the torque from that frame in the front and the frame in the back to the outer rails of your car that's right behind, or it's the inner rockers is what it's called, on the outside of your car. And so that car has integrity because the whole, the body and everything is keeping it together. So it's all of that works together. Ford did that because Ford was manufacturing these cars as, a Mustang went into the plant as a piece of sheet metal. Literally everything is made out of sheet metal on a Mustang. It's incredible technology for their day. The problem for those of us who are now working on these cars in retro is that body itself is so important for the frame and structure of the car because it is a unibody car. I'm going to encourage you, because of those reasons, before you cut the body off and everything gets all wonky, you're going to put subframe connectors in. I would recommend the X-Brace, and I'll try to figure out who that is, who mine is, and maybe some companies that carry those, and maybe I'll put that in a link in the description. If not, you just Google it. X-Brace for whatever your model Mustang you have. But that's going to give integrity to your car. And I know these work, and let me tell you why. I said it under the car, but I'm going to say it again. There was a point where I had my car jacked up. I had it on 3 jack stands. The floor of my shop is not precision leveled. And one jack stand, I kicked with my foot on accident. Now the car's on 3 jack stands, right? It's on 4 actually, but I kicked one of the jack stands as I was getting into the car, and the jack stand just slid out. And the car was sitting there, not even moving, with 1 jack stand missing. It had 3 jack stands on it, under it. 1 jack stand hadn't even been touching it. The car didn't even move. That's how much integrity you get out of one of these subframe X-Brace connectors. I would do it before I cut the body off. Once you cut the body off this car and you start converting it to a fastback, if that car itself flexes very much or gets some wonk into it, you're going to have to do a lot of work on the other end to fix it. Not impossible. If you've already cut the body off and you're like, oh my gosh, my car's wonky, you can work on it, but it's not easy because it's hard to find a reference point on your car that you can use against your floor or whatever you're going to use as your plumb line to get all that stuff straightened back out. Save yourself some work. Go ahead and put subframe connectors in your car prior to converting the car. Put an X-Brace subframe connector in there before that. Now, I will say this, if you're going to do that, you're going to want to change the floor. When you cut the floor pans out, I would recommend cutting the floor, if you need to replace the floor pans, cut the floor pans out, with the body still on the car, cut the floor pans out, put the subframe connectors in, then you can get access to the top, welding them so much easier if you do it that way. So you're going to cut the floor pans out, you're going to put in the subframe connectors, X-Brace, button it down, then you'll put the floor pans back in, the new ones, you're going to weld them in, and then you're going to start on the fastback conversion. So if your car has rusted out floor pans, I'm going to tell you, do not cut the body off of it till you fix the floor pans. Fix the floor pans, put in the subframe connectors, cut the floor pans out, put in the subframe connectors, and then put your new floor pans in and weld them in fully, and then cut the body off. If you don't, unless you're really good, you can have a lot of stuff move on you in that respect. If you want to email me, one of the things I'm going to include with this video, if you want to email me, I'm going to draw out a diagram where to put the structure or the bracing inside the interior of your car, so that you kind of know where to brace the car up and all of that. So before you cut the body off, not only do you want subframe connectors and that X-Brace underneath, which would be great. If you don't get the X-Brace, that's okay. But I definitely would have good floor pans and subframe connectors in it. And then I'm going to show you where to put some interior structural pieces you're going to weld into your car temporarily. You'll have to cut them back out so that the car, when you cut the body off of it, it doesn't move around. The less your rockers and everything else move around, the less any of the structure moves around when you cut the body off, the easier it's going to be to put that new fastback body back on there. That's going to make your job a lot easier. Your fitment is going to be easier if you do that. So let's just go back through recap real quick. The recap is this. you're going to, if you need floor pans in your Mustang, before you cut the body, don't cut the body. If your floor pans are rusted out, don't cut the body off yet. Okay, we're novices. This is going to save you some time as a novice. What you're going to do is you're going to cut the floor pans out first. Before you cut the body, you're going to cut the floor pans out. You're going to put in your subframe connectors, because when the floor pans are out of the way, gosh, those subframe connectors go in like butter. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my X-brace in there too if I'm going to buy the X-brace one, which I highly recommend you do. It makes your car super structurally strong. Once you get that put in, then you're going to put in new floor pans, and you're going to weld them in completely. Not just spot weld them, you're going to weld them in completely. You're going to do all of that prior to cutting the body off of your car. Why? Because the more metal that you take off of that car, the more you're taking away from its integrity, and all it takes is just a little bit of a tweak, and then you've got a bunch of work. In the end, you're like, I don't understand, my car's squatting on one side, or it's lower on one side, or my front end's a little wonky. When I'm driving down the road, it's all like kind of weird, you know, look like like one of those air suspension cars. Anyway, so you're going to want to do that. Once you do that, before you cut the body off, you're going to put structural bracing inside the car. I'm going to give you some suggestions. I have a diagram of what I would do if I had your car. This is how I would do it. And that structural bracing inside your car, you're going to do that. You're going to weld that all in. You're going to do that before you cut anything off. Once that's in place, now you're ready to cut the body off the car. My next video is I'm actually going to go out to Old Susie, my scrap parts car, and I'm going to take a Sharpie marker, and we're going to go around. I'm going to show you where I'd cut the car, and I'm going to show you what body pieces that you want to, cut in a certain way so that you can resell them. But I'm also going to show you where, the trouble spots of trying to get that body off and all that goes with that, spot welds and all those good things. So that's the next video, cutting the body off the car, some tricks to do in that. And so then you maybe for those of us who are following along and like going, okay, step by step, this is the next step, is cutting the body off of the car. And then we'll start, I'm going to do a video after that about tools, because you're going to need some tools for fitment and those kind of things. So anyway, I hope things are going well for you. I really appreciate this opportunity to work with you guys. I haven't had a chance to work on my car much. I still have one more wheel housing to do. I just didn't have time this week, so much going on with the church. And so I'm going to try to get back on that here pretty quick, but I thought this would be a good video to help you kind of get going with what you need to do with what you've got going on. Like and subscribe, that'd be great. I love the feedback. Ask questions. You can email me. If I can help you in any way, I will. Remember, I have a list for looking for a suitable candidate coupe. And I've got a checklist for that. I've got a list for the Dynacorn parts along with parts numbers. That's available. And now I have a diagram that will show you where to put the bracing inside your car before you cut the body off of your car. All those are available. They're all free. All you got to do is like, subscribe, and then email me, and I will send it to you pretty doggone quick. So anyway, until next time, I hope things go well for you, and let's keep building these Mustangs. It's going to be great. God bless you.